confident that we can get the weapons into the hands of the right people. I believe that. Yes, sir. Wait, I'll get you a microphone.
Okay. I was wondering if you could comment on what I see as a huge disconnect between foreign policy and domestic policy as it pertains to, in general, the war on terror and Al-Qaeda specifically. Back in 9/11, we were told that Al-Qaeda perpetrated this attack on us, and they were such a threat. They were such a threat that we literally voided out our Constitution with the Patriot Act. We gave the President the ability to make war without congressional approval. We took away our civil liberties, privacy, and 12 years later, here we are entertaining, supplying arms to a fighting force that's 20% Al-Qaeda. Now, if there's such a threat that they can void out our Constitution, before we entertain supplying arms that, and believe me, our record on keeping track of the billions of dollars in Afghanistan, keeping track of the weapons, is horrible. So, until we can be assured that these weapons aren't going to get to this enemy, I see it as aid and comfort to the enemy. And I think before we entertain that, repeal the Patriot Act, because they're not that big.
Very eloquent, very eloquent, and very persuasive. First of all, 20% of them, I think it's less than that, but whether it's 20 or 15 or 25, they are not part of the Free Syrian Army. They are separate. But I think your point is well made about privacy, and this is the subject for a whole other town hall meeting. But when we, after 9/11, after America was attacked, obviously we wanted to do everything we could to make sure it never happened again. And I would argue that some of the measures, many of the measures we took, prevented another serious attack on the United States of America. So I think that that is something we should all be proud of. But I think that you just struck a nerve, which I hear a lot from my constituents, at how far do you go when we're talking about invasion of people's privacy? And who do we listen to? Who do we pay? Who do we tap? Who do we follow on the internet, and why? And there has got some young people, and you're not so young, but a lot of young people view this guy Snowden as a hero. Jason.
Hero!
But my friends, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. But the shame of all this is that some of this information that should have been, and by the way, I'll blame Congress for some of our failure to oversight, but some of this information should have been made available to the American people without it having to come through Mr. Snowden. I believe he violated an oath of he promised to not reveal the information that he had access to, so I'm not a fan of Mr. Snowden. And of course, he went to that land of transparency and human rights, Russia. But your point, sir, and I'll be glad to hear your quick response. Your point is well made. We need congressional oversight, we need transparency, and we need the American people to know exactly what we're doing. Now, you want to respond real quick?
Well, one thing, where's the evidence that for sure, it was Assad? I remember a year or so ago, Israel was contemplating doing sorties into Syria because the rebels had taken control of a chemical plant. So how do we know who's using this? For sure.
Right.
And we don't have a good record. We lost billions of dollars in $100 bills. Halliburton was destroying vehicles rather than fixing them because they had a cost-plus contract. In fact, they have a no-bid contract. I think it's all, we need to step back and reevaluate, and particularly the Patriot Act, because obviously Al-Qaeda is not that great a threat as it was blown up to be.
First of all, my dear friends, Al-Qaeda is still a serious threat. Now, I promise you, Al-Qaeda is still a serious threat. As long as there's the conditions that exist in these countries, there will be a breeding ground for people who are willing to blow themselves up to take our lives. You and I just have a fundamental disagreement there. But your point about the trust of the American people in what the government does to protect it is something that we're going, well, I mean, evidence the applause that you received. There's a lot of people who share your view that we need to have better congressional oversight and better information for the American people. Yes, sir. And then
I don't have a question, but I have to come up here. My name's Brian Bates.